Hello, everybody, and welcome to another another cough. Welcome to another episode of Songwriting Simplified. I nearly said Sunday Night Live then. That was close. Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in the southeast corner of Scotland, the capital of the universe. I hope everybody is doing well. It's absolutely pissing it down outside just now. The rain is actually really, really loud against the window. So I'm hoping that you guys cannot hear it. I do have an expander on my mic, so you may not hear it. But it's absolutely lashing it down. So, but yeah, there's no thunder or anything like that. It's just incredibly heavy rain. So anyway, I hope everybody is doing well and has had a great first half of their week. I like Wednesdays because I get to do this show, but I also like Wednesdays because it's the hump of the week. It's the middle of the week. And I know that once I get past Wednesday, I'm into the last 2 days of the week, and then I'm on into the weekend. So it always feels good to get through a Wednesday, and then I get to relax and do this show with you guys and get to talk about the things that I love the most, namely songwriting, composing, arranging, music theory, and we talk about chords and harmony and melody and all of that. I love talking about that stuff. So this is like one of my favorite things to do in my whole week. So we have 11 people here. We got 6 likes already, and we haven't even started. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming and watching tonight's show. I really appreciate it. So let's see who we have. We don't have many yet, but hopefully we will get some more people in here in due course. So we got Billy Morgan, who is first in the door. Well done, Bill. We got Tony Stringer, who is 3 minutes behind him, and then about an hour later, the W5 family, which would be my good friend Craig. And then we've got John Hawk, and then we've got Mike Johnson, which is awesome because he is way into the future as far as I'm concerned. He's about 8 or 9 hours ahead of me in terms of time. So it's going to be like super duper late for him, nearly breakfast time probably. Who else do we have? We got Gardner99, we got Don Oliver, we got Rich Cresswell, who is my partner in crime for all things songwriting challenges, which we're going to talk about again in just a wee minute. We got Boris here as well. And we've got Keith from Radio Top Frumpy. We got, I think I've already mentioned John Hawk. And we've got Tura Shiva. Tura Shiva, good to see you. It has been a wee while, but I'm very glad you are here. And we've got, was that Casmos 50? Casmo 51. There we go. I think I got that. And I think you're new to my show, so welcome. If you have songs regarding if you have questions regarding, it's been a long day. I have had a terrifically busy day today. So yes, my mind is a little bit fried, which is not normal for me. So I apologize for getting my wrongs in the word order. So yes, if you have questions about songwriting, about composing, about arranging, and music theory, and doing all of that using the awesome tools that are in Studio One or Notion Mobile, this is the place to come ask those questions. So if you have those questions, the best way to do it is make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Once you're subscribed, after a couple of minutes, the chat, which is in subscriber mode only, will be opened up to you, and then you can ask your question. Best way to ask your question. I mean, nobody really needs taught how to ask questions, but there is an easier way for me, and that is if you start your question with the @ and then Jonny Lipsham Studios. If you do that, if you type that, then what that does is that shows up my name in red in the chat, and then I can pick that out as a question from all the other, greetings that everyone is giving each other here and just general chat. Because you guys like to help each other out. You guys like to help me answer questions as well, which is great. I love that. So I don't want you guys to stop doing that. But yes, if you have a question, then that is the way to do it. It makes it easier for me, and it makes it less likely that I'm going to miss your question, which of course I don't want to do. So yes, I have had a heck of a day. But I'm going to try my very best tonight. So, I said that we would talk. Oh, Brett Marler's just walked in, which is cool. Hello, Brett. Good to see you. He says these vaccine boosters are kicking my arse. Yeah, they do have a tendency to do that. I am not eligible for the vaccine booster. Certainly not yet. When the pandemic was kind of at its peak, my wife works in the medical industry. She is a midwife. And so if she required boosters, then so did I, because, we're married and we're in the same house, and therefore, anything she has to have, I have to have as well. So there was that at the peak of the pandemic, but that's not the case anymore. Now it's kind of a case of if you are elderly or you are infirm or you have a condition from a certain list of pre-existing conditions, then you are eligible for the boosters. Otherwise, you don't need them. So I have not had one at all. That said, I could go private and pay to have one, and they would give me one, but I really don't want to do that, because there's a whole bunch of reasons which are not relevant to this show. Anyway, RJ Hagler is here as well. Anyway, yes, they do have a tendency to kick people's Botox, and Kyle Trajuziak is here, and normally he lets me know that the show has started. So he's a wee bit late, but that's okay. So, yes, you have rheumatoid arthritis, so you are definitely in that eligibility bracket. So, songwriting challenge. We have a songwriting challenge ongoing for those of you that are new to the channel. And I'm working in partnership with Rich Cresswell to bring you this challenge. And this challenge is a Halloween songwriting challenge, and the idea is to write a piece of music that's between 90 seconds and 5 minutes long that's going to scare the living crap out of me and Rich. But, and it's just one little but, you have to use a particular scale, and you kind of need to derive everything from this particular scale. So melody, harmony, rhythm, obviously you can't really derive from a scale, but certainly melody, harmony, you need to kind of derive it from this particular scale. We did this last year, and we used a really weird scale from the modes of the melodic minor, which is called the Locrian Natural 6. We did that last year. That was loads of fun. And we had loads and loads and loads of entries. It was brilliant. It was totally awesome and very inspiring for me and Rich, actually, because we got to hear some really, really great pieces of music made by you guys. So this year, we're using a slightly different scale. We're using a variation of the Dorian mode called the Dorian Flat 5. So what does this mean? It means that the 5th degree of the scale is flattened by a half step. All right, so if we take those first 5 notes of the Dorian scale, and we're starting it on G. Okay, so we're going to go G, A, B flat, C, and then here comes the flat 5, because here's the 5. There's the 5, right? But what we're doing is we're flattening that 5. So if you take that 5 and you flatten it, you get a tritone. Tritones are great because they are very, very unsettling. And they give you that sense of being slightly disturbed and scared and fearful. Not like a major third, which is what I just played. So it's a little bit it's a little bit kind of weird to have the flat 5 there instead of the regular 5. So you don't play the normal 5. You play the flat 5 instead. And then you go to the 6th degree, and then the 7th, and then the octave. Kind of sounds a little bit on the weird side. So no, it's not Dorian in D, it's Dorian in G. So take that scale and flatten the 5, and then start it on G. Also has a slightly exotic kind of sound to it as well. And actually that's one of the Brett, that's just funny. Tone or do not tone. There is no tritone. Brett, yes, go get your coat. So, you can use the Dorian flat 5 and get that really kind of scary thing going on. Now, you could, if you wanted to, use just the regular Dorian scale. But the regular Dorian scale isn't really particularly terrifying in and of itself. So you're going to have to rely upon other compositional techniques to be able to get that kind of fear going. So you're going to need to maximize some of the points in the scale where there are dissonances and make the most of those. So in that case, the regular Dorian scale would have the natural 5. Okay, and this is kind of a scale that's used in jazz a lot. The Dorian mode in particular is used in jazz a lot. So you'll hear pieces like Miles Davis's So What? And there are others as well that are based in that particular scale. But what we're doing is we're flattening that 5 just to give it a little bit more of an unsettling, disturbing kind of sound. And also it means that the chords that you can create just using the notes from this scale are actually really, really cool. So let's try a little example here. Now, the last time I tried to move this microphone, it decided it was going to nearly throw itself off the table. So we're not going to stray too terribly far from the microphone. So the first chord that you can use is the most obvious one, which is the diminished chord, which is basically just minor thirds stacked on top of each other. But that's probably not particularly scary. It's certainly the way I'm playing it, it's not particularly scary. And then the next chord in the scale is going to be an A7 with the flattened 9, which is a nice sounding chord all by itself. So, you know, you can kind of like pivot between those two, just those two chords on their own. And then the next one you would go up for is a B flat minor 9 with a major 7. I'm using 4-note chords here, but you can use 3 notes if you want. And then the next one, this is where things start to get a little bit weird. And this is another C, this is like a C7 flat 9. And then we go up. And that gives you the D flat diminished. And then you miss out the 5 and you go straight on to the E. Which gives you another diminished chord. then you're on to probably the most plain Jane sounding chord of the entire scale. F major 9. So that's kind of like the most plain Jane sounding So, if you want to go for the real kind of creep factor, where you kind of maybe want to do a little bit of something that I really like, which is juxtaposition. So you could go for, maybe the darkest sounding bossa nova in the history of bossa nova, you could go. So it's kind of, it has a minor 2/5, but it doesn't land on the 1 minor. It's on the 1 major if you were in F major, for example. So you could do a little bossa nova that starts on the 7th degree of the scale. And then you could go and, after you've done a couple of those, you could go. So, you could do something like that if you wanted to. And could make something quite interesting. That's kind of a little bit kind of bossa nova, makes you think of nice summer mood, but with a dark twist to it with, some of the other chords that come from that scale. So you could do something like that and create something that's kind of happy dark at the same time. Happy dark. Hark. No, that sounds like Hark the Herald Angels Sing. So maybe not. Or you could do something like that where you take maybe a children's nursery rhyme. I've done this before. And I had to do this for a student film, which was meant to be kind of like it was a comedy horror film. And what I had to do for the comedy horror film was I had to reharmonize well-known small children's nursery rhymes and make them really spooky and dark. And so I did. I used lots of diminished chords. I used lots of flat 9 chords and whole tone scale and a few other devices to create that kind of mood. But I also used another device which you probably wouldn't want to use in this particular challenge, but maybe next year we will try this one. And that is bitonality. So that's basically having a piece of music that is in 2 different keys or 2 different modes at the same time. So, for example, the chords are major in a major key, nice and bright and happy, and then the melody is in a minor key, maybe a half step below that. And that's kind of what I did for some of the nursery rhymes. I put the melody in the minor key a half step below what the chords were playing. And so it gave this very kind of disturbed, warped version of the well-known songs. And yeah, I had so much fun making that. All right, so if you have any questions about the songwriting challenge, then I'm happy to help, and I know Rich is here, so he will be happy to help as well. There are prizes up for grabs. Wow, we've just lost a lot of viewers. There are prizes up for grabs. In fact, there are several prizes up for grabs because, we've kind of decided to expand this a little bit more so that it's not just songwriting, but we wanted to include some of the other folks in our community who songwriting is not really their bag. So there is the part of the challenge where you can actually mix an already existing song that is using all of the ingredients of this scale and all the other kind of ingredients of the challenge. So you can mix that if you are a mixing engineer like Kyle is, and there are others here who are mixing engineers. If mixing's more your thing than songwriting, then and certainly Bobby Booth would be in that bracket as well. You don't have to write the song if you don't want to. Although I know that Bobby Booth dipped his toes into the creative side of things last time, and it was great to hear what he came up with. And I was just like, this guy is not a songwriter. He doesn't claim to be a songwriter or a composer. It's not really his thing. But he went ahead and he gave it a go. He gave it a go and he submitted an entry. And I was beyond stoked. I was beyond thrilled and happy that he did that. So even if songwriting's not your thing, give it a go. Give it a try and see what you come up with. It would be fun. So you can mix. I think Rich has a song that is already in the workspace, because we're doing this all through my.personas.com workspaces. So there is a workspace, and once you get hooked up, and Rich is taking care of hooking people up and getting people into it, if you decide mixing is what you want to do, then you can download the stems for the song and you can mix it. There's also the chance to do a remix as well. So there's a bunch of kind of arranger blocks and things like that as well. And if you want, you can do a remix of the existing piece as well. So you've got plenty of different options. You can either do a remix, or you can mix, or you can do your own piece of music. And you can do your piece of music in any style you like. Doesn't have to be classical, doesn't have to be orchestral. It can be folksy, it can be jazzy, it can be big band, it can be small band, it can be whatever you want to do. It could be synthesizers, it could be analog sounds. Kind of up to you what you want to do. The sky's the limit. But basically, the entries in all of the different categories, so the songwriting, the remixing, the mixing, there are prizes up for grabs in each of those categories. So it's bigger this year than it's ever been. It's better than it's ever been. It's very, very cool. So we're not just talking hardware prizes, there's software prizes as well. So it's very exciting. Rich, if he's still here, we'll put some details in the chat probably as to what prizes there are up for grabs. So if you want to take part, you can. If you are a member of the Studio One Pro Plus community, hook up with Rich Cresswell through there, and he will get you added to the workspace. If you are not a member there, that's fine. You can still reach out to Rich. You can find him on Facebook, and you can email him as well. So there's plenty of different ways in which you can get involved. Or you can email me, and I will put you in touch with Rich. All you got to do is, all you need is a my.personas.com account. So even if you're not a member of Studio One Plus, you can take part. If you are into perpetual licenses for Studio One only, you're not interested in subscribing to anything, you don't have to. You don't have to be a member. This is not exclusive to Studio One Pro Plus members. You don't have to, okay? All you need is a my.personas.com account. So if you're a Studio One owner, user, you're in. You can get in if you want to. So you can go down to the web address down here, johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk, drop me an email, and just give me the email address that you use to create your account. And then what I will do is I will forward that to Rich, and then Rich will get you connected to the workspace. And then once you're in the workspace, what he'll do is he'll send you an invitation. You accept that invitation and you'll be in, and then you'll have access to all the materials. And there is a load of stuff in the workspace already, which will help you get started, including a song that has already a bunch of chord changes in it that you can use that are derived from that scale. So if you're kind of not really sure how to make some chords out the scale, it's fine. We've got you. We've got you covered on that as well. So you've got chord changes, you've got a scale. Put the two together, create something unique, and scare the shit out of us. That's the challenge. And then when we get towards the end of this year, when we get to the end of November, I'm giving you the heads up now. We're not there yet, obviously. But when we get to the end of November, we will be announcing our Christmas songwriting challenge. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to get involved in. If you know people for whom those challenges would be cool and you think they would get a kick out of it and also the chance to win a prize, then get them here. Get them subscribed to this channel. And they'll get all the details here. And then they can get involved. Or not, as the case may be. But if you don't get involved, you don't get the chance to win something. And I'm all for people winning stuff. Definitely. Yes, the taking part is definitely important. And I think everybody should take part. But there's definitely value in winning something as well. So that is pretty much it with the songwriting challenge, if you're up for it. Brett says, instant cream factor. Play a piano around the C6 or 7 range with the sustain pedal permanently pressed down. Yeah, you can do that. Turashiva is in the house. I'm glad she's here. And she says that she's missed us. And you know what? The feelings are definitely mutual, Turashiva. We have missed you as well. So we are very glad that you are back amongst us. Absolutely. I hope your break away from us was helpful and useful for you. But we're glad you're back. So playing at the high register with sustain pedal down. Yes, that kind of, especially if you use something like the whole tone scale or the diminished whole tone scale, can definitely have that scary factor. That's the whole tone scale, which sounds spooky enough. Let's try the diminished whole tone scale. Diminished whole tone scale has some extra notes in it. It has a flat 2 and a flat 3, as well as everything else. It's pretty scary. It's lots of fun. Sean Carr is in the house as well. Hello, Sean. Good to see you, buddy. We are just past halfway through the show, and I would definitely like it if we have some more questions. So if you've got some more questions, particularly as it relates to scaring the shit out of people using music, we can talk about that. Tritones are a great option. Whole tone scale is another really, really useful option. And the diminished whole tone scale is great for that as well. So, diminished whole tone scale. So, if I take the regular whole tone scale, basically the whole tone scale is made up of just tones. Like, not half steps, but just steps. And so, if you're starting on C, you're going to play the first 3 white notes and then the 3 black notes. And because it has 3 whole tones and then another set of 3 whole tones, it has that unsettling, wide open, very mysterious kind of sound to it, which is why it gets used a lot in, TV mystery or horror and that kind of genre. So you hear the whole tone scale quite a bit, but also dream sequence. You get that a lot, kind of dream sequence kind of thing. And usually on a harp. Basically, you set the harp pedals to whole tone scale, and then you just play alternating glissandos on the harp. And that's kind of how like that dream sequency kind of music happens. Not necessarily scary, but certainly unsettling. Now, if we take these 3 notes here, the first 3 notes, and if we flatten the second, which would be the D, to a D flat, and then if we flatten the third to the minor third, but we also keep the major third, so it basically would be a flat 2 and a sharp 2, I guess, more accurately. Major third, and then the 3 whole tones after that. And it's great for creating really nice discordant sounds on any kind of orchestration that you want. And basically, to create those chords, I'm not thinking about different chords at all. I'm just clustering different notes of the scale. And you can do this with that the Dorian flat 5. So if we were to take that Dorian flat 5 for the Halloween challenge, I suggested some chords that you can use, but you don't have to use those. You can just cluster some notes together. You can do this. And so you can make some chords like that, where I'm definitely using a lot more notes to create the chords, but I'm just clustering notes together. I'm not thinking about how they progress or anything like that, or the chord type that they are. I'm just thinking about coming up with cluster voicings where the notes crunch against each other, because, you know, that's kind of where, if you want to create music that's really, really tense and suspenseful, that's kind of where you do it. So a combination of those kind of clustery kind of chord sounds with pedal tones. What's a pedal tone? Pedal tones are things where you have a static note either in the bass or above, and then the chords or harmony that that is in that section of music changes either above the pedal tone or below it, depending upon which way you're doing it, whether it's a pedal tone or an inverted pedal tone. Okay, so inverted means the pedal tone is up above and the chord changes change underneath it. Pedal tone, regular, is the pedal tone at the bottom and chords changing over the top. Okay, so you could pedal the G, which is the root note of this particular scale, and then you could basically play these cluster chords on top. And so the secret is you keep this guy going. All right, so that would be a regular pedal tone. And so you could have that going in a synth, the pedal tone in a synth, or you could have it in, I don't know, double basses or something like that. So the other option is where you have the pedal tone above. And you hear this a lot in 1950s horror films, where you'll hear the two juxtaposed. You'll hear the pedal tone underneath, and then you'll hear the pedal tone on the top to really ratchet up the tension. So you might go from something like this. And then the pedal tone will go up above. And so that persistent either hammering out of that one note repeatedly or in a sustained fashion with the chords changing underneath it can provide a whole ton of tension as well. So those are two kind of compositional techniques that you can use to propel your Halloween piece forward if you want to make use of those. So, and then you can vary them. So you could start with a pedal tone that's on the tonic on the G, and then you could move it up to, I don't know, maybe the B flat or something, and take advantage of that, you know, minor 9 with the major 7 kind of harmony going on, and then you could move that around between a couple of different chords with that particular pedal tone, and then you could swap it over so the pedal tone is on the top and you could change your chords underneath. So so that would be definitely another technique that you could apply to create some contrast between maybe different sections of your piece. Dynamics is going to be a big thing with this as well. So lots of big contrast between loud, quiet, really, really quiet, really loud, really quiet, and so on. So make some big contrast between loud and soft. Make that dynamic range really large. is another good way to kind of get the kind of scary vibes going. So maybe you have a soft inverted pedal in, maybe muted violins where they're just playing like harmonics or something like that, sustained harmonics with no vibrato. And then you use like staccato brass with, bass drum, timpani, and stuff like that to create really loud percussive effects underneath this, this harmonic thing that's kind of just on the top as an inverted pedal. So yeah, dynamic range is going to be another useful device for you. Brett says Phil Collins is a great place to look for examples of the use of pedal tones. Yes, Phil Collins likes this. Let's see if I can play it. And there's another song actually by Bryan Adams that uses similar chord changes to that, which is all over the tonic pedal tone with the 1-4-5 going over the top. Dave Barslow is away. He says, take care, everyone. Got to tend to some things. Cheers, Dave. Good to see you. Glad that you dropped in for a wee while. Thanks for coming, mate. I appreciate it. Tadashiva says, clustering notes. So that's what I do. Yes, that's kind of what I do as well. I mean, I'm a jazz guy, so kind of, that's the kind of stuff that I do. I do cluster notes quite a bit. Dave says, do you have advice on how to marry sounds to video? Yes, you need to make sure that the song that you are working on and the video are using the same frame rate. Frame rate is very important. And then you will also want to set the timeline in seconds rather than bars and beats, because you will want to line a particular audio event with something that's on the picture down to the very precise nanosecond maybe. So that what you see on picture is accompanied by the correct sound at the correct time. So setting the timeline to seconds rather than bars and beats is going to help you a lot there. The good thing is there are 2 timeline rulers in Studio One. If you're using, version 5 and above, there are 2 timeline rulers. So you can have the standard timeline ruler set to bars and beats, and then you can have the secondary timeline ruler set to seconds so that you can actually reference the 2. Not forgetting that also in the transport bar in Studio One, you have bars and beats and also seconds as well. You've got 2 different timers so that you can help line things up. SMP SEMPTY is, there's only one E in SEMPTY, Brett. But yes, there is no SEMPTY as far as I know. SEMPTY is very, very old technology. But yeah, so but you can sync things to the frame rate in Studio One. So it is totally possible, but yeah, SEMPTY is old technology. If you want to be kind of certain as to what video settings there are, then you would want to go to Studio One, then Options, then Advanced, and then Video. And there's an option there that says set song frame rate to video frame rate when importing video file. And then there's another option there that says automatically create audio track for sound from video. So if your video already has sound and you want to have the same sound in your song, then yeah, have that checked. Otherwise, you don't want to do that. And then, of course, there's a synchronization tab as well. Synchronization, I should say, where you can sync to external devices for MIDI timecode and machine code and stuff like that if you need to do that. But yeah, the video options, there really is only frame rate. Set the song frame rate to the video frame rate. Basically, what that does is that means that the frame rate of the song in Studio One and the frame rate of the video are going to be the same, which is definitely something you want to do. So different video codecs will have a different frame rate, so be aware of those things too. And it depends whether you're on Mac or PC and the format, because a QuickTime has a different frame rate to an MP4, for example, or an MKV. They all have different frame rates, slightly variant frame rates. And if you select the wrong one, you're going to have a problem. And you'll not be able to get things in sync. Unless it does the SMPTE alignment for you, so you don't have to watch the frames. Yeah, you really shouldn't. I mean, I do a lot of stuff to picture because I work with film students at Napier University, and so that's how I do it. They send me MP4s for the most part, and when they send me an MP4, I bring that into Studio One. And with that option checked, whatever the frame rate of the video is, the song is going to be at that same frame rate. And then it's a matter then of watching what's going on and working out tempi for the various sections of the film. And of course, I can automate the tempo track to accomplish whatever I need to accomplish. I kind of do things relatively old school in that respect, by using maybe some slightly unusual time signatures as well as tempo changes to make sure that everything matches exactly the exact specific point on screen where I need a piece of music or a sound effect or some other part of sound design that I'm asked to do. So I've like had bars of, if I'm doing something that's in 4/4 at say 80 BPM, for a particular scene, and, I need something to time exactly with a particular event on picture. I know where that particular event is, and I know its exact point in time. So it's minutes, it's second, and it's, nanoseconds or whatever. Then once I know that information, I will use a marker from the marker track to mark that point. And then if necessary, I will make a tempo change, either to make the tempo faster or slower temporarily, or I will use a time signature change. So I might be doing something 4/4, 80 BPM, and then I'll have a bar of 216, and then we're back to 4/4. Just so, and maybe the 216 is at twice the tempo of the quarter note. And I will do that so that I can make sure that whatever music occurs, it occurs at exactly the right point to picture. So, I have lots of markers in the marker track for that. And sometimes those will need to get converted to arranger blocks, especially if I need to duplicate an exact event or an exact section to a later part of the film, which occasionally you have to do. Like if there's a repeat scenario that takes place, I want to be able to repeat that music with maybe 1 or 2 variations, but I want to be able to have the exact same timing. So I will do that where I need to. Torashiva says, by the way, this show has been my support group for tonight. Well, you know what? I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad it's helping you in a bunch of ways, Torashiva. I hope you get a lot out of what we're doing here, and I hope you also throw yourself into this Halloween songwriting challenge as well. I would love you to take part. I really would. I would love you to get involved. So, reach out either to myself or to Rich Cresswell. We'll get you in the workspace. We'll get you set up. You'll have access to all the stuff you need to make some music, make some scary music, and then you can scare the shit out of us for fun. All right, we are done and dusted for tonight's show. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it a lot. You guys are the best. Some really good questions coming out of tonight. I hope you are all getting stuck into your songwriting challenge. Because like I said, there are prizes up for grabs. Hardware, software, including to one very lucky person, there may well be a license for Lucas Rusitska's Harmony Wizard. I'm pretty sure that's one of the prizes. I'll confirm that with Rich, but I'm pretty sure that is one of the prizes that we agreed that we would have. And big thanks to Lucas for providing that. So it's awesome. It's going to be great. So Billy is launching an after show Zoom. So if you want to go and join that and just hang out and continue the conversation over there, that would be cool. Thanks a lot, everybody. I will see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live, where we will be talking all things Studio One. So join me then if you've got Studio One questions or comments or things that you want to discuss. Obviously, there are some things I cannot talk about. Bear that in mind. So, there may well be questions that I would just directly just say I can't answer, and I can't answer that. Okay? So if I say that, I'm sorry, no offense meant, but there are things that I cannot talk about because of non-disclosure agreements. So please bear those kind of things in mind, because I actually work for Presonus. Okay? So I work for the company that make the software and the hardware. For those of you who don't know, most of you guys here do know, but yes, I'm under an NDA, so I can't really talk terribly much about certain things. But other than that, folks, I will see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. Have a good rest of your week. Have a great Saturday, and I'll see you then. Cheers, folks.